What's the deal, y'all? It's Cam, and thank you for joining FreeRPeople to list backwards, because people are free. Today, I'm not here to force your mind, but I'm here to free it. I'm here to open your mind and rethinking what you were taught your whole life and what we commonly accept and don't truly think about. Today's talk is going to be about the dark truth behind magic, chakras, tarot, horoscopes, all that jazz. Let's get straight into it. So to start, when doing magic or crystals or tarot, horoscopes, any of those things, you're putting faith in man, something other than God. When you put faith in those objects like crystals or those cards, once again, you're putting faith in physical things or man. And some may argue that the universe is God, but God created the universe. The creator cannot be the creation. We were put here to be made in God's image and to be the hands and feet of God. So we have God within us, but we are not God. The creator cannot be the creation. In that, I will also argue and say that, a lot of these things, once again, we put faith in them, but and we say that they're spiritual. So I remember in 2020, specifically, that's when it really came out and it became like a heavy or a popularized thing. But when it comes to being spiritual, the key word in spirituality is spirit. And when you think of spirituality, that's to better yourself so that you can better help others. You can live in a world where you love yourself and you're able, with that love of yourself, able to love and spread that love so that it can be contagious and a domino effect, and that those people can love themselves as well. You can't, and I would argue that you cannot call yourself spiritual when you have these objects or things, because these are things that you bought. How can you say you are holistically or healing, in a natural way when you're using things that you bought and you're putting faith in objects rather than doing the inner work or the inner healing and relying on God or the spirit within yourself first, and not other man or other objects or other things to do it for you? And then also, I would say there's a kind of type of selfish game with that. When you do things like putting spells for like magic spells for things like money or love, you're also bending and contorting the free will of others to get what you want. So once again, that's not really spiritual, because it's not for the better of yourself and others. It's more so for the better of yourself, which in the end won't be for the better of yourself, because we are not omnipresent. We can't think like God. So what we think in the moment would be good for us, in the end probably wouldn't, or it would probably, not work the way we quite seemed. It may work in the beginning, but then over time it just crashes out early, or it has no longevity, or it's not the way you planned or the way you want. So with that, it's something to take mind to and take heed to when you practice these things. In addition, if you watched my last video, you know about Aleister Crowley and how he is behind most of these teachings and these practices. If you haven't, though, I talked about Aleister Crowley. He's a man who was considered a Satanist, and a lot of the things in magic that he practiced was satanic. Like he was doing rituals where it's called the Eucharist of Light, where it's a ritual where you use bodily fluids, ejaculation or women fluids, and you put them in a food and you eat it, and it's supposed to enlighten you or power. Or it's when you're doing these things, and right when you're about to climax, you manifest or you think about the things you want through another person, taking that person's sexual energy or just their energy in general and manipulating it to get what you want. But he's the person behind this, and I'm also going to show you the pictures on the Rosicrucian website. Rosicrucianism is a thing he heavily practiced, and that they created to, once again, you'll see, they'll call it spiritual, but they were trying to bend time, the metaphysics of time and space, being able to do these rituals and practices, which lead you deeper and deeper. They get darker and darker. They get more involved, and you find yourself doing a lot of sick or abnormal things in the process, losing yourself to, in the end, gain temporary things or to gain what you want in the world, which heavily affects others, and most of the time not in a good way. I'm going to show you this video if you are a believer of God, of this lady, and she breaks down the dangers of zodiac signs as well, but it was kind of pertaining mostly to what I was saying in the video, to sum it up, because I may or may not be able to find it. She was basically saying, though, like, how can you say you believe in God and you have faith in God, but you're also putting your faith in other things? It's like you have your foot in two doors, or halfway in the door on one side of things and then in the other. So it's just something to take heed to again and be cautious about. We have to be consistent in our thinking, consistent in our beliefs, and we have to be aware of how these things can also be manipulated, because once again, man at fault. We are not perfect. We are erred. We are flawed, perfectly imperfect, but in that we are flawed. So we may do things out of bias, or we may do things with an agenda. Somebody who considers themselves a tarot reader or horoscope reader, and I'm not saying it all of them, but there are some, like I said, because we are prone to error, who may do things. They may have a bad day or a bad experience with somebody of a zodiac sign. So now all of a sudden they make a post and they say, oh, this person is doing this sign is doing this, all because that sign made them feel some type of way. And so now you're preconceiving that same idea because you happen to know somebody of that same sign. And then it's just a domino effect. Instead of seeing that person and learning that person for who they are, you automatically just believe something because of somebody you don't even know. A stranger just put this thought in your head, and now you have a damaged relationship, or you've severed a relationship or sabotaged a relationship with somebody you could have potentially worked with because of a few things that coincidentally match that situation or at that time or that thing. So we have to stay woke to those things.
Hi, sweet baby. I genuinely love your question, because sometimes sin can be talked about to the point it's like, dang, what can I do? Or like, how am I wrong, or why am I wrong? And God is a good father. He's never going to leave you hanging. You can ask him questions, and you ask the right person, because I'm just like you. Help me understand before you just tell me it's wrong. So the reason astrology is so frowned upon in the word of God, or God himself, is because anytime you have to go outside of him to get information about you or others, it's like, are you trusting me to let you know? Are you trusting me? Anything outside of faith is displeasing to him, because it's like, why don't you believe me? I have a good plan for you. I got you. You don't have to believe what man says about you according to the signs, when I have written about you in my word. I have the hairs on your head numbered. What can they tell you that I already don't know? So you can think of it like that, and anything else, let me know.
Once again, these practices are originated from darker things and darker agendas for the world, and not for the good of us at all. Most of them, like I said, related to Aleister Crowley, but also that goes into the religion. He also practiced the religion of Thelema. He himself did not claim himself as a Satanist, although he claims himself the beast in 666, which is the same thing. But they're not going to try to put the truth in plain sight. They'll just do it in symbolism or little by little. Nonetheless, what he practiced was Thelema, and if you go deeper into that religion, deeper into Rosicrucianism, you can see that, like I said, these people practice magic, these people practice the tarot and these things, and it's all to bend the will, to constort us, to have us all thinking or behaving a certain way that will benefit them and will destroy us, either mentally inside or destroy us as people, destroy people, like dog eat dog world, as they say. And that's not right, and it's not good, and we have to pay attention to that, and we have to be aware of that, and we have to consider that before doing these things, or putting 100% faith in them, or really diving deep in them, paying for readings, to that point, literally paying other people to tell you your future, to tell you how you should feel, how you should think inside about other people, about yourself. An example I have is the founders of the United States Lodge, the Masonic Lodge, the Freemasons. A video I'll make separately deeper about them as well. But they are people who are also behind the magic and the tarot and the readings and the things about spirituality. Most of the media or the popularized things that come out, they are behind. And it's, like I said, for their good. But as you can see with these founders, you can see they heavily practice in the teaching. You could see their teachings and practices under the Golden Dawn, one of their orders, one of their organizations that are, dated back centuries ago. So that's why you probably haven't heard about it. But it's kind of, if you think about it, modern day, like a society, like a fraternity, if you will. So they practice these things, and like I said, they're satanic, they're dark, they're sacrificing things, they're ritualizing things, and they're not praying to the God that is good, to say the least. But there is only one God. So, like I say, ultimately they're praying to Satan, and these things are not good, not for the good of you, not for the good of your spirit, and not for the good of others, which is directly opposite of spirituality. Lastly, there's a video of Black China's mom. She posted a video on Instagram, or Black China herself. She posted her removal tattoo process, and she was showing the industry and what they practice, what they believe, the different symbolisms and names for Satan, as such as Baphomet, the things with the Egyptianism, the Ra, which I'll show you the perverted religion chart, which is I was getting to and ties to with Aleister Crowley. When you look at these things, when I show you this picture and you see what they practice, what it all symbolizes, what the plan is, what the teachings is, their abilities, what they're supposed to do and gain from these things, you think about the high people in this world with power, wealth, money. This is how they get it. These are the things, these are the steps they take, that they're willing to take, that they're willing to do to get this power, to get this knowledge, to be illumined or illuminated, aka the Illuminati. Once again, for another video, but this is all the foundation. These are the building blocks. These are the steps to attain these things, which is why it's so crucial and it's so important to know the real history and root behind these things, to do real imminent research before you practice, before you go ahead and pay people to do and tell you things, because they might not know themselves. That's all I have for today, y'all. So if you like what you heard, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, comment things you don't know about, you want to hear about, you're scared to talk about, you want to see me talk about. And like always, y'all, stay blessed.